All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Papaya Cast. Super happy to be here with Gideon Berger. I was trying to kind of get his name right before we started here. Gideon has been such a cool person to be around. We first got in touch with him to kind of hear a little bit about the product. We got in touch with him because we found him in the Bay Area music scene, and he was just like, honestly, the first time we talked to you, he brought tears to my eyes, and I'm not even joking, because he gave such a good affirmation about Papaya and what Papaya was doing. And since then, it's been such a pleasure. He's been helping us with fundraising. He's been helping us with tips and insights. A veteran in the music industry. Gideon, how are you doing today? It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Brother, the feeling is absolutely mutual. I'm doing great. It's an honor to be on this podcast, to have another conversation with you, to connect with you and the folks of Papaya. Like you just mentioned, I think what you guys are doing is amazing. It's very well made, and there's a huge demand for it. So I feel very privileged to be here on this conversation with you and take a small little part in your guys' journey.
I love it, dude. You're welcome at any time. The house is yours. I really hope one day we'll have a big place and there's going to be places for you to hang out, sit and talk. And, it's really a pleasure. Really see this as your home. Anything we can do to help you out, we always going to be here, independent of Papaya or not. Gian, I believe in you as an artist. You're a great artist. I've been listening to some of the stuff that you guys have been releasing. I love it. Yo! Welcome to Papaya Rhythms and Hustles, where we're gonna be talking a lot about the independent music scene, how to navigate this crazy industry. I'm your host, Gideon Berger. Welcome. Make yourself at home. This podcast is for you. So let's dive a little bit into your story as a musician, because I find I relate with you the fact of being an immigrant in this country and trying to make into the scene. Tell us about your journey. I want to hear about how you first got in touch with music and what made you dedicate I would say huge part of your life, right, in music. Tell us a little bit about your story. I would love to hear that.
Sure. So I'm essentially a drummer. I play drums in bands. I got into drums, I think it's been 23 years ago. I come from, you can call it a musical household. I have two older brothers. Both of them played in bands. One played in metal bands. One still plays in punk bands. So I was exposed to that type of music at an early age, the age of 14. Got into drums, joined bands, started playing shows, all that stuff. And with time, I realized it's taken over a massive part of my life. Started recording music with my first band and second band, releasing music, that whole stuff. And then I realized I'm falling in love with two things. I fall in love deeper with the instrument itself, but I'm also falling in love with the idea of being in a band, being a musician, and everything that goes into it, like working in a group, working with a scene, working with the environment, the logistics of it, the complication, the problem solving that it takes, and all that stuff. Joined at some point a few bands that actually hopped on airplanes and toured internationally. So a band that toured in the US, later in Europe. Then I joined another band that did a bit of heavier touring, band called Useless ID, which my older brother Ishai been in that band since the early 90s. We toured pretty much everywhere, from Japan, China, Russia, Europe, Australia, the US, etc. Then around the age of 30, I got an offer to relocate to the US. I got a job offer. I couldn't say no.
Where were you based beforehand?
So that was in Israel, my home country.
All of this time in Israel.
All the time. I'm
okay. That's cool. I didn't know you tour around the globe like that. That's cool. This is the first time I'm hearing this. This is awesome.
Oh yeah. That's an experience that shaped my character, for better or for worse. The things you experience on the road really builds your character. A lot of challenges, a lot of obstacles that you need to untangle and overcome. So
Tell me. I mean, I just wanna pause here because I wanna hear a little bit more about that before we move into the American stage of your life.
of
Tell
course.
me some of the stuff that you experienced on the road because one, this is a dream of mine that I haven't got to experience, just kind of like be on the road. I've been playing around forever, but always locally, always at the comfort of my home, go out, do the gig, come back type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And I want to dive even deeper into like the challenges and stuff, but tell me some of the stories. Tell me some like of the things that you felt that was valuable during that time for you. Some of the lessons. I would love to hear that.
Sure. So first off, the good parts that happen is you find yourself playing big stages, big festivals, big rooms in front of larger crowds. That's a perk that happens when you join a working active band that already set the ground. So with Useless ID, for example, we played at festivals for like thousands, tens of thousands of people in places like China, in places like Europe, festivals like Rebellion Fest, Resurrection Fest in Spain. We've been on tours with some of my idols. We've been on the Fat Records tour with bands like Lagwagon, Flatliners, Dead to Me, stuff like that.
That's awesome.
We also got the opportunity to tour with a band. You might know them, Die Totenhosen from Germany.
Jotunhosen, that sounds so familiar.
They're basically kind of like the let's call it the U2 of Germany in a way. They're massive. So we got an opportunity to tour with them on I think it was like their 30th anniversary, and that was a straight up arena tour.
Nice. They're old schoolers from what I can see here. Like since '82, they've been around.
Exactly.
Well, I definitely, I mean, the name is so familiar, but nothing's coming to me right now. Oh, someone is calling me. I'm so sorry. So nothing's coming to me right now, but I definitely know the name. That's super cool. How is that? That sounds like a little bit different from the genre you guys are saying. Because I'm looking here at uses like D2, punk, skate park. It sounds like that, the music that I grew up. And I mean, I'm not listening to it, but just for the pictures. So how was that for you guys? Tell me a little bit more about that.
That was awesome. Because we're still, the band is still active. A very hardworking band, touring a lot, writing a lot, releasing a lot of music, but at the same time dealing with the challenges of being a band that's based in Israel, and everywhere you want to tour, it's not like you have the privilege of hopping in the van and just go. You have to fly. And that introduces a lot of expenses, a lot of logistical challenges. You have to figure out like the cost of everything. You have to figure out how you get to new territories, new countries, and deal with the gear they have, the gear that's available for you or not available for you, language barriers, things like that. So yeah, that was very interesting, very challenging, but very rewarding because oftentimes you encounter, especially specifically and without touching into politics, but Israel does have, their fair share of conflict. So you have scenarios where, hey, we're supposed to go on tour in 2 days. The airport is shutting down because there's a rocket attack, stuff like that. So you need to figure out how do we untangle this?
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it has we encountered all those things. So once you have those challenges and you manage to solve it, that really prepares you to like, I can deal with, so much more.
Yeah. And it's hard for me not to listen to this. And again, this is not by any means to promote Papaya, but again, the idea always have been to just talk to musicians, but I'm so involved into this that it's hard for me not to just go there. Like, oh, can you imagine if Papaya already existed at that time, right? Because if you go to a new country, like a new place, and you have like everything already kind of listed for you, who to look for, what professionals to hire, what are you going to encounter there? Like, I feel like it would have saved you a lot of, headaches at that time, right? So that's super interesting. That's super cool. Do you have any fond memories from that time? Like something that you kind of miss or don't miss? Or like, oh shit, like I definitely don't miss the endless, like not sleepy nights or something that you really look fondly back?
Sure. Well, the main thing was always and still exists to this day is like making new friends and creating friendships that last a lifetime because you come across people who are in the same boat as you, who are also musicians. They work hard, have the same passion for this music, specific style, have passion for this instrument, and these things last. yes, like I mentioned, new experiences and new achievements and unlocking new new territories and introducing your music to new markets. That's always fun. Things I don't miss is stuff that still exists to this day in touring. You know, like lack of sleep, challenging logistics, moments where you pinch yourself like, what am I doing here? You know, why am I, why did I get myself into this? But that's also what keeps it fun and exciting.
It brings some sort of resilience too, right? I think it's part of the process, right?
Exactly.
That is super cool, man. That is super cool. I love to hear. Yeah, it just again, I'm kind of living this dream through you a little bit, which I really love it. So let's go into the American part of your life. Then you moved to the U.S. Sorry to interrupt there, but I just felt like that was, an interesting. I kind of want to pause there and like hear a little bit about that time of your life. So moved to the United States, got a job offer here, and then tell me about what has been for how long you've been here.
Sure. So I've been here for about 7 years.
Okay.
Landed in San Francisco. And I had no band because I had to leave my old bands.
You came here by yourself?
I came here with my wife.
Okay.
My wife and our cat and 4 suitcases. No drums. No.
Yeah. Felt kind of naked, right? Doesn't feel.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's hard for me not to travel with my instruments too.
Exactly. And then I started thinking, okay, I'm not giving up. Like I have to continue playing in bands. I have to continue doing this. I still have this bug in me. So what I did is I started researching who are the local bands, the active bands, like who's good, what bands I want to go see. And I started going to shows. And then my approach was embracing my Israeli chutzpah, and straight up reach out to bands and ask them like, hey, do you need a drummer? Hey, do you need a fill-in? Hey, what's your drummer situation? That's very rude approach. But I quickly learned that, hey, this is working because some of these bands are actually, yes, our drummer is leaving the band. And yes, we do have challenges with our drummer. And yes, come to, a rehearsal. So that's how I joined my first band, later my second band here. And that's how things started rolling. And as you play in more bands, you go to shows, you meet more people, you network, opportunities starting to come up.
Super cool. Love it. And again, keep thinking about papaya, right? This is actually a really good thing too, because we could already, there's a possibility here. And by the way, someone the other day came to me. I think they were looking for a bass player, but it was almost like I almost had to, because it has been happening already that some folks are touring in the area and they're like, oh, our bass player got sick, right? Like, how do I do it, right? How do you find someone locally that can jump in and kind of learn the stuff, right? So I keep imagining right back in that day, like let's find bands that I like. I dig the sound. Hey, are you looking for it? That is super cool, super grassroots. I love it. And then tell me a little bit about the band you're now. Some of the work you've been doing, some of your experiences here. I'd love to hear that too.
Sure. So today I play in a band called Tess The Details, which is a female-fronted punk rock band founded by Tess. Who is used to be a local songwriter who needed a drummer for an EP she wrote. I played on the record, we became best friends, and we wrote another record, and we realized, okay, we need to bring this to stages. And then we partnered with Dustin Galecki, Lawrence Hood, who are the other 2 members in the band. And we like to consider ourselves 2 things. The hardest working band in the Bay. We not only that we invest in like the music writing and all that stuff, we put a lot of effort in the hustle, reaching out to venues, reaching out to promoters, networking. And that part takes a lot of effort, a lot of focus, because you can write the best song in the world, but if nobody hears it or you don't push it in the right place, it's not going to move the needle. So that is one thing that I think every group, every band, every artist need to recognize that they need to invest in, like the hustle.
Seeing this as a business, right? Like it's so hard. A lot of musicians cringe, I think, when they hear the word, oh, this is a business. When they hear the word business, it's like, But again, you know this, and I'm just going to repeat this for the listeners. But what we're trying to do here also at Papaya is make people understand that if you want to move forward, you have to see this as it's your mom and pop business. You're opening up a sandwich store, whatever it is, right? You're going to face the same struggles that a business do, right? You have to think about, as you said, the hustle, the marketing. How do you reach out? You can not only focus on an amazing sandwich that tastes amazing and no one knows about you, right? So how do you go about it? Do you want to share some of the tips and tricks that you guys currently do? Some of the things, strategies that have been working for you guys? Would love to hear some of that.
Sure. So this whole thing has two faces, the offline and the online. Offline, obviously, go to shows, network, make friends, introduce yourself, be nice, be polite, be kind. Make sure you leave good impression on everybody. That's obvious. Online is where it gets interesting. So yes, like you said, you have to treat this as a business, and business has to be promoted. Social media, creating content, we all hear this stuff for sure. But you also need to do like outreach, outbound, recognize who are the people you want to connect with. How do you reach out to them? How do you actually get their attention? How do you present yourself properly? So that's another thing we work on. We have spreadsheets over spreadsheets of contacts of local promoters in other cities. We have their contacts. We keep track on when we reached out. How do we reach out? What did we ask them to do? How do we follow up? All those things. We also keep track on things like how many people attend our shows, because that's also important to like track the progress and the impact the band is making. That's another layer. You mentioned data earlier, business earlier. We keep track on all of our expenses and our income. Every time we sell a shirt, we write it down. Every time we, pay for printing shirts or gas or things like that, we keep track over it. Making sure that everything runs smoothly. When we book a show, we know what time is load-in, what time is our stage time, who's the sound person, did we send them a stage plot, all those things. Like when you present yourself in a professional manner, people take you seriously.
I'm getting goosebumps as always. Every time I talk to you, I get goosebumps just because we're so aligned, dude. We're so aligned in what we're wanting to do, right? This is incredible. Like, I mean, this is for the listeners, this is like such valuable knowledge, what he's saying here and what they do, right? Again, we're building stuff to facilitate that because we recognize this. I've been also on this industry long enough to realize that, hey, if we don't have the infrastructure behind us, it just gets really, really hard. And there is a hustle, right? Making music sometimes is what, like, at least in my career, nowadays, of course, with Papaya, things are changing. But when I was full-time in music, not in Papaya, I was doing music, I think maybe 30% of the time. The rest was the hustle, managing my business, right? As you said, spreadsheets, contacts, understanding like next steps and out, like all the plans for the future. You gotta have some of that, right? And hopefully, again, we can build that with Papaya that will help people out because not everyone has that, I would say that the business savvy part of them, right? And it's hard, it takes energy, right? This is super cool. I mean, I was going to ask you at the end of the podcast for some tips, but you're so resourceful that you're already sharing all of that. Tell me a little bit more about the project, some of the stuff you guys are working on. Let's talk a little bit about you guys' music. I want to hear like some of the inspirations. I want to get more of, let's put this business hat a little bit on the side now. Let's geek a little bit about music because I want to hear some of the inspirations, some of the references you guys have, some of the stuff you guys are cooking. Would love to hear some of that.
Sure. So in a nutshell, so far the band has released, there's one EP for Tess as an individual artist. Then we released a full album, 12 songs as the band itself, Tess The Details. That album got signed to an Arizona-based label called Double Helix Records, which was an amazing experience. We have video clips out and the music is available on all platforms. Today we're kind of, sort of in the intersection because we're debating whether, okay, we're getting ready to release more music. We wrote a lot of songs. We're really excited about them. What are we doing? Are we recording another album? Are we recording another EP? Are we releasing singles? Today, 2024, 2025 almost, there's a debate of like, what is the right answer? And it doesn't exist anymore. Like historically, you and I probably were like records, albums. Like that's how it works. Rules have changed. You know this, I know this. Probably a lot of the listeners have changed. Like, when's the last time you sat and listened to an album from beginning to, to the end? So we're kind of leaning towards, let's do singles for a little bit. Let's just record single songs, release them, see how that works, see how people respond to that. So that's what we're doing. We spent the last few weeks writing, recording demos, and yesterday we actually started recording a few songs. We went to Sharkbite Studios here in Oakland. We tracked drums, which was a phenomenal experience. We worked with a producer called Scott Goodrich. This is the first time we're in the studio with him, and we're really excited. You asked a little bit about references, so it really changes for us. Like Tess, the main singer, songwriter, front person for the band, she's a massive Green Day fan. That's what she grew up on. So on the same time, she's really into pop punk, but her voice is very, very melodic, very like pop oriented. She's almost an R&B singer. We have Dustin, who's a shredding guitar player, who's into anything from metal, exactly everything from metal to a bit more melodic stuff, but he's a shredder, very fast hands, into heavy music. So we have that. We have Lawrence, the bass player, who's a full-blown death metal head, who I don't know how he found himself in a pop punk band. So we take all those influences, all those like personas, put them in a stew, and at the end you got Tess and the Details.
What about your references?
My references? I'm just a punk rocker. I grew up on Bad Religion, NoFX, Lagwagon, Nose for a Name. You know, the California sounds.
Same here. Same. Isn't it funny? I mean, did you dream about this? Is definitely, I was not gonna go there, but just because I really relate with you here. Did you ever dream about ended up here in California? Because for me, it was like at the same time that I never thought like anything about into like concrete plans, like, oh, one day I'll be there. I've always just imagined myself here like my entire life. I don't know how. And then for me, it's kind of like, oh yeah, it makes all the sense. I mean, I also grew up in the same songs as like music as you did, like the early punk rock days, pop punk, as well as new metal as well, like the California sound, like the 90s punk rock skating scene. Although I was not a skater, but I was always hanging out with the skateboard guys and we're listening to that. I tried to be a BMX dude, but I'm just not that sporty of a person. Maybe martial arts a little bit is my thing. But anyway, did you ever like dream to end up here because of the references that of the music you listen to?
Good question. Easy answer. Easy question for me to respond also. Yes, I always dreamed of moving to the US, always dreamt of moving specifically to San Francisco. There's something about this area that always appealed to me. Mainly, yes, because of the skateboarding scene. I was a skater dude. And a lot of the videos I grew up watching and a lot of the skate brands I admired like are based here. So yeah, this area specifically was always a target for me. And when I came across the opportunity, it was impossible for me to refuse. That's why it was an easy decision for me to like make that tough decision of like leaving a band, leaving my home country, and moving here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow, there's so much. I'm trying to organize my thoughts here, but I do want to really quickly just segue back a little bit into what you said about your strategy of releasing things, because I think that was really important, something you touch base on. Me, as a record label owner, I've been advising my clients to do this a lot, which is, back in the day, one of the main reasons we were doing an album is to reduce costs, right? Like instead of going there, record one song, go back, like it would make sense monetarily to do the whole album. You do like 2 days of drums, and then like it would make sense because you go there, do the bulk stuff. So cost-wise made sense, right? Then you release and you put everything in a physical thing. So nowadays, those things kind of lost their meaning, right? Everyone's recording a lot of things in their own homes. I mean, you guys went to a studio, which is really cool, but not a lot of people are having that, that opportunity to go in a studio, work with a producer, like, right? A lot of people are doing things on their bedroom, on the loft, like me, right? And then the whole point of releasing a whole thing, like, actually plays against you, because if you think about, you gotta beat quote unquote the algorithm, right? You gotta keep yourself relevant. You gotta keep delivering content because all of those big tech people are wanting you to be on their platform for the longest amount of time. And if you release a bunch of content all at once, people watch it, cool. They're never back to your account again for another year. You're out of the game, right? Do you guys think about this a lot? I mean, I know you're a tech person too, or at least you have a little bit of that foot on the tech world. Do you guys think about that a lot, or is just kind of like what is making sense to you guys? Is it a conscious strategy? Like, I would just love to hear your thoughts on that a little bit more.
Sure. So yes, we always think about, what environments do we actually live in and exist in and like rely on, social media and all the streaming platforms, stuff like that. And you have things like the algorithm and those and like the popularity that dictates your success. So yes, obviously you have to take those things into considerations. But at the same time, you have to stay true to yourself. Like you can't always dance in front of the camera a million times, post it, and be really desperate for attention, for views, for likes, for comments, for engagement, all that stuff. Like people have a nose for bullshit today, and they can recognize when you're not authentic. So we always try to balance between those things. You have to exist. You have to post content. You have to show people like who you are, what you're creating, what you're making to keep them like coming back for more and consume your art. But at the same time, you have to keep your class. So yes, we always think about it. Yes, we always try to strategize it. But yes, we always make sure that what we're putting out is clean, it's well made, it's well put, it's not, apologetic, it's not cringe. We're trying to stay original. We try to look at it as like, okay, here's an opportunity for us to move the needle. But again, do it in a cool way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, those are, this is a little bit of also I want to touch base on, and I would love to go deeper. Maybe in another episode, we can leave the listener with, the wanting more taste. Sure. But I would love to hear something that I've been meaning to ask you, because I know you have some relationship with tech. I mean, you can tell the listeners a little bit of what's your role in all of that if you want, but I would love to hear your thoughts on the whole AI and music thing. Like I've been actually eager to talk to you because I knew you're coming on the podcast, and I know you're kind of seeing some of this stuff from firsthand. So what are some of your thoughts on the whole AI music thing? I mean, there's so much, right? Like we at Papaya, as you know, we're using AI to digest data. We're all about data. We're all about curating information. We're not really, at least not right now. I don't know what the world awaits for us, but we're not using AI to create music, or we don't want to go there. But what are your thoughts on that? I would love to hear a little bit about it.
Sure. My general thoughts on using AI is that it is another tool to make your work more streamlined, more efficient, and tighter. If you're going to rely on it solely 100% to create your whatever you're trying to make, like if it's text, music, stuff like that, you're going to fail because, again, people have nose for these things, especially nowadays. However, if you're trying to use it to tighten up your work, like I'll give you an example. I use AI constantly to create flyers and like promotional material, but I don't do it like 100%. Like I create the general images, some logos,
good starting point,
outlines. Exactly. And then I go and refine it and make it more smooth, cleaner, tighter. I use it constantly to, flash out if I need to write a biography, if I need to write a proper email, stuff like that. I always, use it to tighten up stuff, clean it, make it more concise. I think it's a great tool. I think kind of like every tool, it's a matter of how you use it, how you leverage it. You have to be tasteful with it. You touch on something interesting, the whole section of creating music with it. So I think there are platforms you can straight up create and write using AI. Call me a purist, but I'm somewhat against it at this point in time. That's my approach. However, it's really good if you're using it for like vocal tuning or quantizing music, or have some sort of input in your music. But if you're gonna expect like a computer to write a song for you, get the F out of here. Like I'm not up for that. But yeah, so I think it's another tool, a powerful tool.
Yeah.
and it's a matter of how you leverage it.
I'm with you there. I feel like I share, pretty much all the beliefs you expressed. That, I mean, back in my undergrad, I actually wrote a scientific paper on the revolution that synthesizers brought to music. So I'm all up for technology. I feel like there is so much technology can do and can democratize, right? Like, I feel like when sampling came out, it was a very similar discussion back in like the 70s or 80s, even some stuff, before that. They were, a lot of people say, oh, music is over. Like, no one has to be creative anymore. No one, like, now you can just sample this and then you have the birth of one of the biggest musical movements of all time, which is hip hop, right? Like, it's so in one way, like, a lot of people are like, oh, this is terrible. Like, no one has to know music. But then you give the tool to people who maybe they would not have the chance to learn music as deeply as a lot other folks did. But now they have a tool that makes things a lot easier for them, and they put their creativity on top of that, right? And then bam, you have this whole huge thing. So I'm with you. I feel like technology is neutral. Human beings put meaning to that, right? And then we can use it to good or to bad. And I'm hoping to see a future. Yes, I hope AI help the folk that didn't have, the same music study or same opportunities to dedicate so much time to music like we did, but they can express themselves through that, right? I feel like being a channel of expression, I love it. But at the same time, some of the things that you hear, for example, Spotify starting to push more AI creator content because they don't have to pay as much royalties. Like, that worries me a little bit, because if you think about how much control those big companies have over the things we're listening, even on the radio, like, you think people are playing like that track over and over and over because like people want to listen? No. People are paying money to be played on that radio over and over. So in a way, you think you like a song, but most of the times you're being kind of forced that song down your throat because there's so much money to be made there, right? Like, I've been in the radio world. I made a lot of money on royalties in radio, and I know that there's a lot of money there, and no wonder everyone wants a spot there, right? And then as soon as you realize, you understand the much power that those curators that are playing those songs have, then it gets scary. Anyway, I kind of, don't want to go too deep into that, but those are some of my concerns as well, right? Yeah. Well, just to keep short and sweet, I don't want to go too deep into some of these stuff, but maybe in the next conversation, dude, I want to just grab a beer with you at some time. Let's jam. I mean it, like, I mean a minute, like, I want to jam with you. Let's just make some music sometime. Like, I would love to meet up and, just have conversations with you. You're a great dude to talk to be around. We'd love to hear like maybe a final thought, like if there's some one or two pieces of advice that you like to share with our audience, anything that you've learned that you say, hey, like, this is something that I really believe people should be paying attention to. What would that be?
Sure. So first thing is something a lot of musicians and us people like tend to ignore, is that we invest a lot in quote unquote the product, like the music, and we talked about hustling and doing all that stuff. What is really important and worth investing in is looking inwards and figuring out a way to work well within a group. So like, your own band needs to be united. It needs to work seamlessly. Because if you have trouble at home, like, it's very apparent in the music. You start to swap members. People lose interest, you lose momentum, and it's a small let's call it, it's a small cancer that spreads. So if the group itself is healthy, people are excited, they feel valued, heard, all that stuff, it will heavily contribute. So that's one thing I would strongly recommend to every band and group of musicians who work together. Like, invest a little bit in working on the relationship, on the group energy and dynamics, to make sure that everybody are on board, excited, invested in this as much as you are, like the main songwriter or whatever you want to call it.
That is big, man. Like, I've been in a few bands in my life, and I've noticed even when one member of the group is not there anymore, let's say you are two people are the main songwriters there, and then someone of the group changes, like the thing changes a lot. Like the group dynamic is so important. Everyone counts their energy, their input, their what they bring, even if it's just a smile. Like those things are so important. Do you have any practical advice? Like, do you guys do anything like let's say more practical, like, hey, let's have like a we call this in Portuguese, let's do the dirty laundry now, which means like let's talk the difficult stuff right now. Like, do you guys have any like practical things that you guys try to come up or do as a group, or is it just more like an overall thing that everyone is kind of on board? Hey, let's be healthy. Let's treat this as like a relationship, because at the end of the day, it's kind of like a marriage, right? When you're working, you know, like same in the startup world. Like me and my co-founder, like sometimes I talk to him more than I talk to my wife. Like you have this relationship that is so deep, and you're going through so many difficult things together that you got to have the healthy, you know, relationship part of that. But anything practical that you guys do, or?
So I would say it's more the latter, what you mentioned. It's more general. So we always try to, whenever we pitch an idea or have a question or try to come up with a plan, like playing a show, booking tours, stuff like that, come up with a strategy, we talk about it as a group. And we make sure that everybody have their input and everybody, you know, and double click on it. So if somebody is like on autopilot, like, yeah, I'm cool, I'm down. Like, are you though? Like, do you feel comfortable with this? You know, I don't want to overwrite your opinion or your feelings. Like, I'm not dictating you. You don't work for me. I'm not your boss. You're my friend. Like, are you comfortable with this? Awesome. That's one thing. Like, always make sure that everybody's involved and give their input. If there is a tough decision to make, or a tough conversation to be held, lean into it. Have the tough conversation. Be respectful. Be mindful. Say what's on your mind. Listen to what the other person has to say. It again, all the cliches are true. Like, listen to them, what their pain points are. See if you can untangle it together. And you know, maybe you're fighting over something that's important, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. And maybe it's nonsense, and you can, you know, let it go. Because you'll win more, you'll gain more in the long run, like from building this relationship, for having your, you know, counterpart, bandmate, whatever you want to call it, like recognizing that, oh, cool, you took one for the team, you gave up on something that was important for you for my benefit. I appreciate that. So yeah, having good communication. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
I love it. Yeah, it's just as we said, it's just like a marriage. And it does require work, right? Conscious and proactive work, right? Not just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to say yes to everything because I want to be easy. No, man, those things build up, right? You got to be able to look inside into yourself and speak up and talk nice, be positive. And, you know, one therapist recommended sometimes to use more I sentences rather than you sentences, which I love. Is like, instead of you did this is like, I feel a certain way. And I feel like that changes so much in every relationship that I have, because we are human beings. We are empathic to others. But whenever we are being attacked, we tend to close up. But whenever we are receiving that someone is feeling this way, you know, I feel it changes. It's so interesting. You can say the same thing just in a different way, that it changes everything. Super cool. Super cool, man. Any final thoughts? Anything else you want to bring?
Really excited about what's on the horizon for you guys. Again, from the first glance at the platform, I was really impressed by how well it's made and how all the features make sense and how it's like tightened up, like no hiccups. Curious to see, you know, how it will evolve and how people will use it and leverage it in the future. Because I meant what I said. Like, I think there's a massive demand for it. And I think, like, you mentioned, like, years ago, like, when nobody had dude, years ago, people toured without maps. Imagine going on tour without, you know, Google Maps right now. Like, you're screwed. Yeah. You know? So I hope to see Papaya kind of like the Google Maps for musicians in a way. You know, like, imagine finding a band. I mentioned, like, earlier, when I moved to the US, I went on Bandcamp, filtered out like local punk bands in San Francisco, got a list and started reaching out to them. No real clue, like, who are the people, what are they doing, all that stuff. I had to investigate, which took me a long time.
Yeah.
I would solve this for me in like a few minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I thank you. I really appreciate it. I really, really appreciate it. As I mean it, what I said as well. Like we're here, man. Like see us as a resource. I'm really invested into this scene. I'm really invested into, changing the lives of the independent musicians. I know the struggle. It just boils my blood to see some of the stuff that is happening in this industry. So I don't think I can do anything else. Like I'm dedicating my life into this, right? I'm way too passionate about music. I'm way too passionate about this industry. And again, like I'm just a rebel by nature. And I guess maybe some of the music that we grew up on resonated on that too, right? So yeah, like I'm gonna make something like incredible no matter what it is. So I appreciate it. I appreciate it, dude.
Awesome.
Any concerts, dates, shout outs, anything that you want to bring before we wrap up?
How about shout outs? Yeah, a few names I want to mention that worth checking out to whoever is listening. One studio in Lafayette, California, run by an amazing producer called Jacob Light, is a close friend of mine, a person who essentially founded my band, introduced me to Tess, working with amazing musicians. So that's one guy, one studio that's worth checking out. Scott Goodrich, the new guy we started working with, amazing producer, amazing engineer, also a character and a lovely individual to work with. Yeah, two main people that made a massive impact on my work here in the Bay, and worth checking out.
Amazing. Let's onboard them on Papaya. We'll love to have them offering their services there. Folks can check them out. We'll put every information that they find relevant there. Let's work on that. Super cool. My friend, always a pleasure. I mean it. Let's grab a beer. Let's jam. Whatever, it's. I'm back. I was in Brazil for a while, so now I'm back. I'm here. Let's just have fun because that's the end of the day. That's why we do music, right? So
yeah.
Anytime, dude. It was a pleasure talking to you, bro.
Same.
All right. Thank you.
All right. I want to give a special shout out to Gideon because not only he was kind enough to participate on this podcast, he has been an early enthusiast of Papaya, what we're doing, always trying to push us forward, give us good feedback. So thank you, dude. I really, really appreciate everything you're doing. Quick shout out to Mateus, director of the podcast, Rafa, my co-founder, Pauline, everyone in the team of Papaya right now. You're all doing amazing work. Also, a shout out to the dev team. We just released our job board where you can find the latest fresh opportunities in the music industry, especially in the Bay Area. Don't forget to check Papaya out at www.heypapaya.com, and I'll see you in the next episode. All right. Thank you. Ciao.